I'm Greg, and you're listening to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Who have we got today? Who's coming in?
Today we have Herren Project.
Oh,
Purple people.
the purple people.
Yes.
Yes.
Town's purple forever during Wellness Week. So
Yeah.
yeah, we got Executive Director Bonnie Sawyer.
Oh, Bonnie's been with them like forever, I think.
Yeah, it's good. She's got a great story on how she became involved. I was like, wow.
Nice.
It's gonna be a good one to hear, and hopefully we'll get some information about the origins and the founder, Chris Herren.
Yeah. Yeah.
So should be a nice little interview.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Without further ado, today with us on Totally Preventable, we have Executive Director of Herren Project, Bonnie Sawyer. How are you doing today, Bonnie?
I am doing great. Thank you for inviting me to the Totally Preventable podcast.
Greatly appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
So to start off, can you tell us what is Herren?
Herren Project is a national nonprofit that provides free resources and support for the prevention and recovery of substance use disorder. So we pretty much are helping, an individual that might be wanting to take the first step into a life of recovery, where we have programs that are aimed at helping the family members. And then we have a youth prevention, where we are in the schools with our Herren Project clubs.
Nice. Do you mind telling us how you got involved in Herren Project?
Sure. I've actually been here since the very beginning. I met Chris when he was a year sober. He was training my son in basketball. And at the time I was a stay-at-home mom and hadn't been putting my degree to work at all. And he had just started, thinking about the ideas of Herren Project and his 30 for 30 on ESPN. So I said, hey, I can help for free. So I was filling my time helping him do different things. And, 11 years later, here I am as the executive director of Herren Project.
Wow.
Hopefully not still for free.
No.
Wow. So what do you feel are some contributing factors to the Herren Project's success?
Oh gosh. I think it's all about the community. Addiction is a very pervasive disease, as we know. And one of the things that we have done at Herren Project and still to this day, even though we've grown substantially, especially over the last 5 years, is we kind of try to keep that same grassroots mentality. We're all about quality, not quantity of people that we're helping. We take a very person-centered approach, which I think has helped to build a very strong community, which is, has lent its hands to our ability to help people, stay recovered, whether they're the individual or the family. We don't treat either one of them any different because each has their own recovery journey. And we make sure that they get the individualized, person-centered help that they deserve.
Can you tell us some of the programs that you have for those individuals?
Sure. So we kind of have 4 pillars of programming at Herren Project. We have our individual recovery services, where if somebody just goes to our website, they can fill out an inquiry form, they can call, they can email, and our recovery team will, try to just support them first off, just by listening. And then, working with that person, meeting them where they're at. And if needed, we'll help them find a quality treatment program. We'll, help advocate for them. I always say we're kind of the individual's voices. We don't work for a treatment center or anything like that. So we use an individual's resources and to the best of our ability to find them the best possible treatment option that's available. And then if they sign a release, we stay in there with them. We make sure that their case managers are doing the jobs that they should be, that they're getting a right aftercare program. And then if the person's, highly motivated for recovery, we offer recovery scholarships where we give them 7 weeks we'll pay their rent for 7 weeks in a recovery home. And then we give them now 6 months of recovery coaching. It used to be 7 weeks, like the housing, but now we've seen that, again, with that community and connection, the longer we can stay in there with people, the better the outcome on their long-term sobriety. And then we have alumni programs and online recovery groups. So that's all our individual recovery services. Then we have the family recovery services. So we have another team of people that work with the family members, because we learned quickly that, for an individual to trust us, we needed to just work with them. And then a separate person working with the family member. We're offering one-on-one phone consultations, 15-minute phone consultations with a licensed clinician. And then we have, right now, we have 25 online support groups for families. They range from just a general family group to a spousal group. We have sibling group. We have a parent group for adolescents and for 18 and older. And then we have grief support groups for those that have lost a loved one to addiction. And all of those groups are all run and facilitated by licensed clinicians. The reason I say that and why that's an important factor, and I think what kind of makes that service really unique for Herren Project, is it offers peer-to-peer support, but it also offers a psycho-ed component. So we, peer-to-peer support and talking amongst your peers and other people who are going through what you're going through is really important. But we wanted to take it one step further and make sure that we were providing tools to family members so that they could learn their own recovery. They could learn how to take care of themselves better, learn how to love their loved one through the struggle, and hopefully leading them to, taking the first step in recovery. So all of our groups, like I said, they're all led by these licensed clinicians. They're limited in number. They range in size from like 15 to 20 people in a group. And if we max that number out, we will start a new group. They're not, like an Al-Anon or Learn to Cope. They're kind of really something in the middle and very unique. And unfortunately, with the increase in overdose deaths, our grief support groups, we can't even keep up with the numbers. We currently have 6 of them, and
Wow.
We still need more, honestly. And these are free to anybody. They're on Zoom, and people from across the country. We currently have 44 different states represented in the groups. Wow. So, and we've even had people internationally on them. They've really been incredible. We started them prior to the pandemic, actually, and no one knew what Zoom was. So then, the pandemic came along, and we had 3 before the pandemic, and now we have 25. So, yeah, it's been great. So those are our individual and family recovery services. And then, like I mentioned, we have our prevention and wellness. Mm-hmm. So that is Herren Project Clubs, which is a peer-to-peer based club model that is founded in social emotional learning. And it's meant to give kids a safe space, to be with like-minded students, but also to teach them kind of with fun activities to learn how to cope with today's challenges in healthy ways. We're hoping that, if we can get to them young enough, that we can teach them better coping skills before they start to, maybe experiment with substances and then misusing them. And then obviously leading to addiction. And those we have for high school, middle school. We're working on elementary right now. So hopefully that will be done. And we actually in the next, I think like March, we're going to start, we have a college task force, and we're looking to create a program to bring to the college level and transitional age youth, because, I think transitional age youth are actually getting left behind in all of our prevention efforts. We often think about, off when they go to college, but what about the kid who doesn't go to college? They're probably one of the most at-risk groups of people. So we're working to figure something out that we can offer as a prevention tool there. And then we have our Team Herren Project. So Team Herren Project is we call it fundraising community. So it's peer-to-peer, people are running races in different athletic events in different parts of the country or on their own. They definitely raise funding for Herren Project. We raise about 40% of our money through peer-to-peer fundraising through Team Herren Project, but it's also become so much more. It's a group of people that it's created a community of support. It's filled with people in recovery, family members who are either have loved ones struggling or have lost a loved one, or maybe are celebrating recovery. And then, just people that are allies to the cause. And we started it in 2014, and we just hit over 1,100 people that have participated in that. So, every time people ask me, what does Herren Project do, all the services? I mean, I kind of get blown away because there's just so much that we're actually doing with a pretty minimal staff, honestly. So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, for sure.
I was just telling Greg about the Team Herren Project.
Yes, Team Herren
I was
Project.
calling it running. But I remember I was at a running shoe store with my daughter who runs in Providence.
Yeah.
And had a Herren shirt on, and Pam.
Oh yeah, Pam. Yeah, she's our director of active
Was
engagement.
going in, and she saw my shirt. I think she may have had a shirt on too.
Yeah.
And, like, hugging, like.
Oh yeah, Pam is amazing. Yeah, and it's such, I mean, it's a great form of wellness, I mean, I was gonna say that's one of the other things that we can talk about is the Wellness Week with Herren that we do. I mean, really, our job, and one of the things that we try to strive for, is to empower people to live healthy, fulfilling lives. And, running or any form of athletic, active activity, is so vital. And I know we're so lucky because here in Rhode Island, we have like the IGT 5K we participate in, and we have a number of people, and the Newport 10 miler. I mean, we have so many amazing opportunities, here in Rhode Island. And
it seems like Pam only runs marathons.
Yeah, Pam, yeah, or ultra marathons. Well, I don't know. I ran the Boston Marathon
Oh,
for
really?
this project in April. Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't run at all. And I had told myself in my own head that, like, if the opportunity ever presented itself, that like I would run the Boston Marathon. And then literally 11 weeks before the marathon, the opportunity presented itself. I was like, oh my goodness. And I did it. It wasn't pretty, but but you know what? Addiction isn't pretty. That's why I did it.
Yep.
People were like, oh, how are you going to do this? And I said, me running 26.2 miles will never be as difficult as someone that is struggling with addiction and trying to overcome that. And I'll tell you, I mean, not that this is what this podcast is about, but it still gives me chills actually to this moment, because it was really one of the most overwhelming experiences I ever had, and was such a perfect parallel to addiction in and of itself. I could do a whole podcast on it. It was actually unbelievable what I experienced, in both good and bad. And but I ran those 26.2 miles with a list of over 100 names of people that Herren Project had helped and had died. And I put them on a piece of paper, and I kept them in my pocket the whole way. And it was one of those things that just propelled me to the very end. Yeah. 7.5 hours later, but I did do it, and I crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'd still be running. You said it was a marathon, I'd still be running.
I'd just be.
Now, how does one become a participant in Team Herren?
Oh, you just have to go to the website and register for a race, honestly. It's honestly that simple. I mean, Team Herren Project, we have 12 different races that we are like a charity of. So, which, Pam has done an incredible job working, with these relationships that we have with all these charity partners. So Boston Marathon's one of them, the New York City Marathon, the New York City Half. We even have some overseas at the Berlin Marathon, the Dublin Marathon. So people, you sign up, there's a fundraising commitment that's with each one. And then 20% of that money pays for, you know, the Team Herren project expense, and then the rest of the money goes to, you know, the programs and services that we have at Herren Project. And then we have the own your own race. So there's a number of people that, you know, they just run in other races. You know, maybe you're running the Newport Marathon or something like that. And you're like, you know, I'd love to, you know, support Herren Project. You can actually sign up, do your own race. You tell us what race you're running. You make your own commitment up. I mean, it's your own fundraising. We set up a page, we give you gear so that you know, it can represent Herren Project as you're running. And, you know, it's great. We have people that do triathlons, people that do, you know, swimming. We had a man, he swam across like, I don't know, some big channel. There's like, you know, however you can get active, you can participate. It's pretty neat.
My swimming isn't much better.
Yeah, and we do the IGT 5K. So we do the 5K every September in Recovery Month. That's kind of our Recovery Month activity. So yeah, it's great.
Now, another question about just going to your 4 pillars, your individual services and your family services. You were like said, you can go right onto the website and click. Now, is that 24-hour response, or is that?
We are not I want to always make it very clear, we are not a crisis center. Our team will answer any inquiry within 24 hours, you know. So, I mean, obviously a lot of times I will say we do get inquiries in the middle of the night, because that's usually when people are like, I can't live like this anymore. But we will answer you the next business day. You know, so it's very rare that, you know, we just say within 24 hours, but we're definitely, you know, we don't want people, if you're in crisis, you know, I would call 911, you know, but we will definitely do everything in our power. We have, you know, we have different partners, like people that networks that we have, you know, we just want to make sure that people get the quality treatment that they deserve. And that they're not being taken advantage of. And like I said, that they're getting the right care that they should be getting, that they have the right aftercare plan, you know, and that, you know, we know the questions to ask even around insurances. And, you know, our team is incredible. I mean, they know, you know, if you have this insurance, what you can get and what you can't. So we know the questions to ask. We're definitely the advocate for the individual seeking treatment. We're their voice. I always say that, we're their voice.
That's great. And is it in multiple languages, or are you working on that?
Right. Yeah. Actually, I mean, DEI, we just actually, our board just approved a whole DEI plan. Right now, our individual recovery services are not in any other language. And I'm going to tell you why. We're working on, like, right now we're actively working on all our youth materials in Spanish and everything. Unfortunately, in the addiction industry, and we're doing a lot of research on this, because there are not a lot of places to find help for people that speak different languages. The treatment industry is interesting. There are not, like, you know, there aren't a lot of, I don't even know that there's very many, if I could probably count them on one hand, Spanish speaking treatment providers. It's actually it's a challenge and a barrier, honestly, in the industry. So, cause we talked this through for a while, you know, how can we help it? You know, if somebody reaches out in another language, we do have a Spanish speaking person on staff, but we have nowhere we can even send them for help. You know, so we try, you know, that's kind of our challenge at the moment, which I think is industry wide, and hopefully that will change.
We've recently moved our offices in Portsmouth, although our office was in Portsmouth before, but so, I feel like we need to talk about Wellness Week, because, Portsmouth kind of owns Wellness Week. So could you explain to our listeners what Wellness Week is? And
Yeah. So Wellness Week with Herren is the first full week in March every year. So this year it's like, don't quote me. I'm like, I better look. It's like March 2nd, I think, but it's the first full week. I don't have the dates in front of me. Wellnessweekwithherren.com. You can get all the information. You can sign up to participate and be a community partner or whatever. But it's basically, it is a week that we are asking communities all across the country to come together to celebrate wellness and learn about how to incorporate it into our daily lives. I mean, I think especially since the pandemic, I think we all know wellness, we probably need a little bit more of it than we ever did before. And that we know that if we can start to empower each other and to think about the practices of wellness, that will have a significant impact on the way we live our lives and hopefully help to prevent the misuse of substances and addiction. I mean, when we talk about wellness and Wellness Week with Herren, I mean, it's not just about the disease of addiction. It's also, there are a lot of people who may not be struggling with addiction, but are struggling with, the misuse of substances or overusing. I think we see a lot of that. So we're just asking people, it's like ways to incorporate living healthy, fulfilling lives. The week has different, it's like the theme is Be You, Live Well. We want people to be proud of who they are. We want people to live healthy, fulfilling lives. We want them to celebrate themselves, celebrate those that are in recovery. We just want to bring the community together in a positive way. The theme, we always keep that wear your purple. Purple is, the color of opioid, addiction and recovery. But it's also the color of Herren Project. And, we want people to come together, show your purple. I know Portsmouth does such an incredible job. They have the purple ribbons all over. On the police department gets involved, the school buses. There's so much you can do with it. And, it's a positive, uplifting thing that we hope everybody will get involed in.
I should probably give a shout out to Middletown too, because they do a pretty.
I was gonna say, yeah, they do. I mean, everybody, Middletown does amazing. I mean, over Tiverton and everybody gets involved. I mean, you guys all do such an incredible job on the island. I mean,
like Portsmouth really is.
And it's such a great thing when you're driving, our office is in Tiverton and I live in North Kingston, so I'll be driving through, and always during that time, you see all the different signs and purple ribbons, and, it's amazing and wonderful to see. And it's just a great way to bring the community together in a really positive way.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing that I always see a lot of youth involved with Herren Project. How do you keep the youth so engaged?
It's not easy. I can say that. It's something that I think we've gotten better at over the years. A couple of years ago, we had hired our first youth engagement specialist, and we've continued, she had left, and we continue to do that. And I think we really listen to the youth voice. We want to know, what do they want? I mean, we have transparent conversations all the time because, we're all the rest of the staff, I'm like in my 50s, I got, adult children. I don't know what's going on. So we try to meet them. It's like anything, meeting people where they're at and trying to engage them, the best that we can. We have our own separate Instagram for the youth, which is Be Youth, like Be Youth. So that's on Instagram. It's run by our youth engagement specialist. We have a youth ambassador board. So we have 14 young people that are all ambassadors to Herren Project, and they do different passion projects and getting involved in their community, because we know, getting them to recognize and even start a conversation around, healthy decision-making, and even just knowing the risks of substances. I think we can all agree that in today's world, we have to do a lot more of that, because the times just are changing with fentanyl, and, it's a scary time. So the more that we can have the youth be the messengers of that information, I think really helps to empower other youth. And we also just started our own podcast. The youth engagement specialist, Natalie, she does the Purple Effect, and it's all for young people, and she has all different empowering youth. And even that, like, you know, we really empower her, and we kind of let her do her thing. You know, we're like, listen, you know, there's certain rules and constraints, but we don't really tell her what to do. We're kind of like, you know, do what you need to. And she's a college freshman, and she's doing her co-op actually at Herren Project next semester. And she's actually a young person in recovery herself. She's 18 years old, and she's been in recovery since she was 16, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but for a number of years. And, you know, she shares her story. She's real, she's authentic, you know, and I think that's really, what helps us really engage with the youth, you know. And we have Chris's message. I mean, they hear him, he reaches them at a level that I don't think I've ever seen any other speaker, honestly, really connect with an audience. And, you know, we're really fortunate that, you know, he is still out there speaking through Herren Talks and reaching the youth all across the country. So.
For those of us who don't know Chris Herren, could you give us like a brief summary of
Sure.
his story?
Yeah. So Chris, you know, he was a former professional basketball player. He played for the Denver Nuggets and then had transferred to the Boston Celtics. You know, he was from Fall River, Massachusetts. Had years and years of struggles with addiction that led to heroin. It started, you know, if you hear his story, it started, you know, with a line of cocaine at Boston College. And, you know, through the years, he hurt himself and was prescribed opiates. You know, and we know the rest of the story from there, no different than, you know, anybody else, unfortunately, that had been prescribed opiates. And in 2008, you know, he pretty much was brought back to life by Narcan. And since then, he just celebrated 14 and a half years of sobriety. And he has, you know, his Unguarded, 30 for 30. He wrote a book, Basketball Junkie. And, you know, somebody gave him the gift of treatment. Someone gave him the gift of recovery. And when he started Herren Project back in 2011, it really was just to try to give that one gift to somebody else. And it's really amazing. And I know, you know, he says it all the time, this far surpassed anything he ever could have imagined, that now 11 years later, you know, Herren Project has helped to give over $8 million in-kind treatment scholarships. And we have given thousands of people, you know, another chance at life. You know, it's truly incredible, the amount of people that we've been able to help. And he's obviously the founder of Herren Project, and then he speaks through his company, Herren Talks, across the country. And then he also has a holistic wellness recovery center in Seekonk, Massachusetts, Herren Wellness. So.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
I was in our local grocery store. I don't know, probably
Just to see him. He likes Clements. I don't know if that's where you were, but
I mean, I've met him a few times through Herren Project, and we had him speak and stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, he meets bazillions of people. And it was like tail end of the pandemic, still wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And I was walking, and I just happened to, I mean, I look at everyone and say hi, but
Yeah.
I happened to catch his eyes and know it was him. And I was like, hi. And he was like, oh, hey, how are you? I am fairly certain he had no idea who I was. But in that moment, I was like, he knows who I am. I went home. I was like, guess who was talking to me?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I would say to anybody on the island, if you want a Chris Herren sighting, the place to go is Clements. Everybody is always telling me, oh, I saw Chris and Clements. I think he likes to grocery shop.
All part of wellness.
It is.
Yeah, all part of wellness, eating healthy food.
Yeah, chips. Soda. No, I don't. Yeah.
Can you edit that, please? No.
Oh, yeah, carrots. and water.
Oh,
So, this has been great. I learned a lot. I mean, I feel like we've worked with Herren Project a while, so I do know a lot about Herren, but I learned a lot, and I think Greg did because.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm really grateful to have the opportunity. I always say, and I probably said this years ago, and I think I first met with you too, Polly, because, I've worked at Herren Project in so many different capacities. I was really in the background for many, many years, and then, kind of came to the forefront, like around 2018. But, I always say we're a national nonprofit, but we are in Tiverton, Rhode Island, and we're a Rhode Island nonprofit. And I know I've made it my mission for the last at least 4 or 5 years to make sure that Rhode Islanders know about the Herren Project and that we are here. And I can happily say that in this time, we've definitely had almost a 50% increase in people from Rhode Island reaching out. I hope that, I hope after listening to this, people do even more will reach out, because I've always said you can be the best. You can't really be the best nationwide till, you are locally. And I really think that, Rhode Island is a state that's very hard hit. When you look at the 50 states, it's probably up there in the top 10. And, certainly want people to know that, we're here. We're here to help somebody. We're here to help however we can, to work with other organizations and whatnot, so that we can actually move the needle, in the state of Rhode Island. Because, one thing I know, and it saddens me, is that in the time I've been doing this work, we've gone backwards, and that blows my mind when I stop and think about it. And I've been saying this for the last couple of months, what can we do better? And I really think it's about collaboration and partnership with like-minded individuals and organizations and community organizations, because we are moving backwards. The needle hasn't even moved forward, at all. And it's like, there's a lot of work to be done, is the bottom line. And, I would just say, it's like, we are here and we want to help. And I hope that, people will take advantage of, everything that we have to offer, regardless of who you are. I think Herren Project has something for everybody. It's like, there's this puzzle, and I say, we have every piece of the puzzle. There's a solution, regardless of if you're the individual, the family, a community, a student, a school, whatever it may be. There's something that we can certainly assist people with. So.
And how would people get in touch with the Herren Project?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the easiest way is just herrenproject.org. And I say HERREN, because of course you can imagine we get it spelled wrong often. But herrenproject.org, I mean, an inquiry, like if you were just wanted to reach out for help, all you have to do is go to herrenproject.org. Front and center is the form you need to fill. We try to make it as easy as possible. And then there's stuff up there. If you look at the prevention tab, there is a phone number too, which is 401-243-8590. People can call that. But I think the website is probably, just is the easiest way to go.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been great catching up. Polly.
Yeah.
And you've just listened to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable. Totally preventable. Totally preventable.